And so what you have going on is the Temple of Solomon gives you the ability to square the circle. And that image has now gone live. And with the ability to square the circle, this means that the globulous form that needs to be perfected, which is called existence, is shaped by the geometry that is being used here. So what happens is that if at any point that someone takes this knowledge and then utilizes it in a way in which is against life, we're all going to be affected. And so what has continuously been uncovered by our network is that there are individuals that are erecting structures such as these microcosmic Temple of Solomons. I'm going to give you a good example of a microcosmic Temple of Solomon here. The Millennium Dome and the geometry behind the Millennium Dome. There you are. This one I got to go all the way to the top. I figured out the setting for that. Again, we're working through a lot of the technical stuff. So what you literally witness here is you witness that the Millennium Dome is 365 meters in diameter, which is 365 days, 52 meters in height, which is 52 weeks, 12 mass, which is 12 months. Okay, so these kind of microcosms within the microcosm are creation zones. So what you have is that the inside of Egypt, I'll give you the whole story here, you find a lot of obelisks. One of them was called Cleopatra's Needles, because these obelisks are like needles that do acupressure to the earth to guide the energies, right? This is a simple system that was learned from the Orient. Look at the Oriental medicine. That's all it consists of, all the different points. So what happens here is that when you take needles and you put them in the points, then you can channel the energy. And this is why in games, now I'm loosening up a little bit here, like before I was like, oh, technical difficulties everywhere, trying to maintain the sound. Here we go with the games, which is based on the geometry of life. And this is what makes us start playing life as a game. Because all around us, as you see the geometry of soccer, 11 versus 11 in football, 11 versus 11. This is why everyone's seeing 11 everywhere. 11 plus 11 is 22. 22 is the Sephiroth. Like, now you're dealing with magicians that are using the 22 program and the geometry that unlocks mental, spiritual, physical vehicles in order for them to insert it. Now, of course, a great deal of the core firmware of what we need to operate is what we have to just stay cohesive and anchored properly into our realities. We have multiple realities as hyperdimensional beings. So what becomes most important is that they utilize these anchor points that mean a lot to us, like, you know, these globes and, you know, this kind of geometry that's based on the physical version of the correspondence of our spiritual self. And so what happens is that when anyone is allowed to tap into that programming, meaning some of the individuals that are tapping into the programming are not upstanding people, meaning that you have people experimenting in laboratories with frequencies to see what they can play on commercials to make more money in the background so a person can't hear it. You have them utilizing the knowledge not to boost us into the higher level of our existence, to build our cities in the sky on magnets and give Earth and take pressure off Earth and use it as what it's always done, is to produce oxygen. They're doing it, of course, all wrong. But now I have to explain to you why are they doing it wrong? How are they doing it wrong? Okay, so what they did was, because Egypt corresponds to the netherworld, it's the subconscious mind. Okay, it's basically where you go when you go to sleep. So what happens is that the subconscious mind was only in one part of the world because the beings that were known to exist there slept. They were in subconscious state projecting the entire world. And this is what they call the Enneagram, or the 8 gods. There's Brahma's in meditation. He's not running around at the mall. So these beings projecting the earth through their mind was a particular center that when you went to that center to connect, you could connect. It meant if you made it there through all the caravans and the wilds of the desert, if you made it there, it meant you were meant to be there. You look at the book of the Abramelin the Mage. He begins in his whole journey is like confusion and him going into the desert and getting lost. So what I'm trying to show you here is that this type of stuff supersedes all of what you're playing with now. It supersedes all of what you're doing at this current moment, and it behooves you to sit down for a moment and say, okay, let me listen to what is really happening. So, the geometry, as I told you, is being used to construct microcosmic temples. Here we go. There's another live stream post. It's called Streets of Washington. Those streets. This geometric configuration, if you saw this on your hyperdimensional star map, you would already know what you were dealing with right there. And people do need to tune into live stream. For those that may have just tuned into, I'm sure there's some notifications going off, but for those that may be tuning into Blog Talk Radio, they may not know that we're also on live stream. You're getting visuals on this, just in case you don't know. And I'm sure someone can source you the link. But what you're looking at here is a pure negative energy dynamo, because the star is inverted. So, what happens with this kind of stuff is that you have crowds of individuals in stadiums, and then you have them through the games being opened up, the sport, serpent ports. And then you have this conflict being put inside of him, the bear versus the leprechaun. And then what this continuously does is create these wars throughout all the gates of your body. And then so your whole body, which is the actual plane of, they said the plane of Aranja, is in battle. Now, what I was also trying to show is that these battles and these conflicts, this generation does create energy, and it is actually the reason why we're here. So it actually makes a person ask the question, is there a constructive battle? Have we actually misinterpreted battle in itself, even as advanced human beings and, light beings, as some people call themselves, and say, well, no, there's only love. Well, wait a minute. These components that are necessary to have in the physical reality to generate things go beyond just one word, especially that's 4 letters. That's how we have to look at things now, especially that mean Jove. So we're now challenged with looking at the entire gambit of everything. Let me tell you how this happens also. Because when you're in this physical reality and you start seeing things go on, and you start asking yourself the question truly of why is it going on and who's involved, you start understanding that you're just as lost as everyone else. Even if you're supposed to be smart, you're supposed to be rich, you're supposed to be all these different things, but you're still lost. You don't even understand the language is written in the sky, and you're on the language, you're on a program. These folks are around building microcosmic universes all over the place to just make you want to come and be a part of their little small world. See, that's all it really is that they make a microcosmic universe and they put you in it. That's why it shows man, which is again, man and woman the same. They both have man in the name. So this is what we're talking about, both of us. Suspended on the pentagram. In the womb, remember this pentagram is a womb, but suspended in the pentagram with having to understand time. So this is the major thing that we're going to talk to people about now. And I'm talking about all of you that are out there. You have to start talking to people about time and how long this may go on. Like, there is no end to this according to this geometry. This is called an endless knot. This means that the way that the sport in the game is configured is that you would always be here. And then each time you would get plunged into another microscopic world without ever probably having the ability to create one yourself. What I'm telling you is that I'm not demonizing this information. What I'm telling you is that the geometry and the designs and the architecture and the things behind this, just as being a poison in a small dose, can in fact be the cure. That being able to explain to people exactly what is going on based on everything that they're seeing around them may in fact wake them up. Let's go to some images here. Now, the Egyptians, now here's what also happened now. To get back into the story, in Egypt, so there was a particular group, mainly the Kemets, who were generally dark in skin tone, and Naga. So they were responsible for managing this whole dream world. And some people say, oh my goodness, the reptilians are controlling everything. Listen, the people that were originally there are not even there anymore. They've been uprooted. So the control modules that were there are being manned by someone else. The individuals that were first manning them are not on that anymore. This is why you see so many things like the Conan and all the different cartoons, the G.I. Joe. You see all this where they're battling the serpent because they actually unseated the serpent gods from Lemuria to take control of the entire ship. See, some people don't even realize where they're actually at, but the reality, this world is a ship. And it was being controlled. And then arose up one who they call now Cain and challenged the ones that were previously at the control module, who they call Lemurians. Cain in the city of Atlantis, Lemurian in the Nagas. Now, this is such a hodgepodge. You have colonization where you have Lemurian Nagas in the same body. And this is ultimate conflict, which the universe is like, yes, perpetualness. See, you're inside of something, and that's why there's a nighttime. You're inside of something that still works on certain principles. The more you conflict and not harmonize, you're still the feet part of the universe. You're giving it that motion, that piston motion to keep its movement. There will always be individuals doing this, and different kind of entities and beings doing this. The question is for you, are you going to do it? And two, if you're going to do it, are you going to be in full control of your energy? See, the other thing about this conflict is it's actually the point of harmonizing. So once you become harmonized, there's an energy release. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not release, it's contained within, harmonized. But what happens in the physical reality is that they juice you. This is the term juice. They juice your energy, and then it goes into these meridians, and then it's collected somewhere, mainly in the temples. That's it. So, of course, it may take this world like maybe 70, 80 more years if someone else doesn't start speaking up and people don't start connecting together and people don't start seeing how serious our network is and how much we really have to deliver, et cetera, that doesn't start happening, you know, it could be endless to how long we get the reaction. However, I'm happy to tell you that's not going to happen. We all today prove that we're already in play. The message has already gone out. It's live. People understand what they did. To continue, is in Egypt, once the usurpers come, Hittite Iberians, these, Hittite Iberians are very difficult to deal with the Phoenician language and the rest of what they want to do, need to seize the controls with Atlantis and all of the 6 kings of Dagobert behind them. Like, they had already convinced pretty much most of the larger parts of the Orient, and the Chinese being very susceptible to a lot of their trinkets, to just be with them. So in going into this next transformation, what you found is a complete upgrade to the Matrix. I mean, after the Lemurian Empire crumbled and the Atlantean Empire rose out of the sea, Atlantean technology started being used, mainly computer, which is actually like a Sumerian word. So the computer, again, speeds up reality, speeds up knowledge. Everything starts to move faster. But what if the beings that are inside of this cube, as it's moving faster, as they're wanting to shape the world now into a cube by building these temples everywhere? What if you inside of it need to gain some bearing? Like, I'm telling you now how to really emancipate yourself from the situation where you have this physical body, like I do, physical body, and you have your spirit body, but you have full control of that, just like I have full control of my physical body right now, and I always will. Full control of your spirit body, so that way when you go to sleep, you're not drifting off into like some other space, some channel of energy. So let's keep going here. So the knowledge that was being managed by the Lemurians, like some people, you know, they have mixed opinions that were about what was going on in the Lemurian Empire. But it's very clear based on the structures. Most of the individuals that were confined to the Lemurian empires, which were in Angkor Wat and also in Egypt, the major control centers, also Aztec, you see that name, Tech, which means advanced technology. These temples, you can see now, were being manned by individuals that were utilizing the sheer labor of their masses, which actually were their children also, to build these monuments of heaven on earth. So, of course, now look, Lemurians were fascinated with building these same structures, especially mapped out constellations to Orion. They love to build these structures, and the Egyptians love to do the same thing, even though these are the two different empires. And this is what I call also white and black. This is what you figure out in Star Wars, that really the one who's mastering the good side and the bad side is the same person. The white and the black are the same. They're so polarized that they cause each other's problems. You have to be full spectrum. White and black are not colors on the spectrum. They're actually the absence of colors. So you have these two conflicting forces who will forever, it's like they call it one. These two conflicting forces that will never agree with each other, because the first real state is something that is not supposed to be written, which is the zero. And to ever return to that, we have to fully define one. The first one who came first. Who came into the womb first? Who was the first human here? Like, now that we have it in math, like I said, as you keep going back through genealogies, but let's keep going here.